All for One, Episode 2, The Transmissions. Last week on All for One, our hero was impregnated in a sort of weird ritual involving a television and a still shot of David Letterman. Then Paul Schaefer and Billy Corgan came to tell him that the baby was put in him spiritually by Letterman, and that the kid was destined to become the best late-night talk show host the world had ever known. A masked man came in to karate fight Paul and Billy, then revealed that he is Vinnie Vincent. Then Peter went into labor. Wow, I can't believe it's you, Vinny, and that you're here to help me deliver this weird baby in me after karate chopping the ever-loving shit out of Paul Schaefer and Billy Corgan, Peter said as he waddled over to the bed to lay down. Vinny nodded. Yes, Peter, it would seem that the universe works in mysterious ways. You and I were never in Arena Rock Mega Powerhouse and very, very good band Kiss at the same time. It would seem that the universe has seen fit to store us in the same Tupperware container in this garage of life. Oh. So it would seem, Vinny, said Peter. Peter, there was a lot to explain to you, and I'm not sure if I have the time to do it now. As I stated earlier, yes, your water broke, and you are going into labor. But this is not the baby that you're giving birth to right now. You mean I got more than just one baby stuffed inside my manly body that I use for drumming? Peter hesitated, and then asked this next question. What's up in my tummy, Vinny? Well, that's the thing, Peter. It could be anything. In order for the world to receive the gift of your magic baby that David Letterman stuffed in you with his big brain, the world must be prepared. The things that will come out of your body over this next period of time will set certain events in order that will allow the world to be ready for you to birth the baby. A blast of intense pressure surged in Peter's big mystery belly. Something was coming. He could feel it. Vinny, something's gonna come out of me, and I'm gonna be 100% really honest with you. I'm a bit frightened. Just then, Peter noticed a building heat in his belly and a tugging on his tummy skin. He opened his robe and looked down. He saw the beginnings of a shape starting to form, as if something was coming to the surface. And then the shape began to extend out of his belly further, stretching the skin tight till eventually it ruptured. Peter couldn't believe what he saw poking out of this fresh wound, I assume. Yeah, it looked like a cordless phone, only it was a pale beigeish color. Could it be? No. Was that a phone made of skin? Were the number buttons little circular teeth? Did he see a vein throbbing near the earpiece?
This just turned into Videodrome?
Yeah, well, I was going to say...
a little bit.
What was this 99 movie?
Existence?
Existence, yeah. It's like a combination of those two. Peter's mind recoiled in terror as the skin phone began to make a high-pitched wailing sound. Are you going to answer it, Peter? Vinny asked. Hell, God, baby, damn, ball bag, motherfucking no, Peter said. The fate of the world may depend on whether or not you answer this call, Vinny said with a serious look on his goofy face. Oh, wow. The stakes sure have been seemingly arbitrarily raised, Peter said. I'll answer the call because I feel like the world...
Oh, no.
Oh, because I like the world and want to do what I can to save it. There are so many pretty national parks that it would be a real shame to lose. Peter grabbed the disturbingly warm and throbby phone and put it to his ear. I'm here, Peter said. Vinny tried his best to hear what the mysterious voice on the skin-bone phone was saying. He couldn't. He felt very bad about this. So it was capitalized.
Yeah, I mistakenly capitalized he also. That was not intentional.
The author is dead, Gavin. I only have the text to work with.
The editor is also dead.
Peter looked quizzically at Vinny. The voice is just repeating a weird command over and over. Makes no sense to me. What's the command? Vinny said, preparing himself. Jiggle cute rat suit Dan, said Peter. No idea what that means. Oh no. No, It cannot be, Vinny exclaimed. Huh? Huh? Peter began shivering in spooky fright. It's not Jigoku Retsuden Dan. It's Jigoku Retsuden. You're about to receive an intense transmission from hell, Vinny said in a wizardy kind of tone. So more like, you're about to receive an intense transmission from hell.
Yeah, there you go.
Peter listened as the phone began to speaking again. I am a hell demon. Your realm is in trouble. An evil more ancient than hell. Oh, an evil more ancient than hell is trying to conquer earth and heaven. Your baby holds the key to saving everything. Listen to these words carefully. At the frosty peak of the mountain most magical resides the giant mittens and a story most tragical. Then the voice shut off and the skin phone went cold. Peter relayed the info to Vinny. All right, Peter, I know where to go, and I have to go with you, said Vinny. Though wait, I'm supposed to have a fan event this weekend. Well, I suppose I can cancel it. I've got... An adventure awaits, and us boys are gonna rock!
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the lead singer for Lifted Generation.
And I'm Steve, and I'm flabbergasted.
And welcome to the Lifted Panel. Today on the Lifted Panel, we are talking about Jigoku Retsuden, the first new Kiss album since Psycho Circus, first full studio album since 1998 Psycho Circus. Exclusively released in Japan, re-records of old Kiss songs, and then released as a bonus disc with a later album in the catalog. But since it's a full studio album, it counts, and we're talking about on the Lipstick Panel, and we have some special guests here to talk about this album with us. We've got our great narrator, Victor Krause. Welcome back to the show, Victor.
Hey, I'm here.
And hey, we have the greatest writer on fanfiction.net. We've got Gavin-Wallace-Ailsworth returning to the show. Thank you so much, Gavin.
Thank you. Would you believe that story took me 25 minutes to write?
A little longer than I would have anticipated.
Yeah.
I don't know. How many typos were there, Victor?
A few. Honestly, not as many as you might expect. But it took 25 minutes to write, but you're not counting the 2 David Cronenberg movies you watched.
That's true. And the oh yeah, very true.
And hey, we've got someone who's friends with Peter Criss on the show, Julian. Welcome to the show. Edit her out.
Oh, wait. I might have that somewhere. I don't know. Nope.
But yeah, we've got Julian Gill from KissFAQ joining the show. Welcome, Julian. Is Julian there?
Is Julian willing to admit that he's there after that masterpiece that he just listened to?
My name is Jose Jimenez. Once I've watched The Right Stuff, I'll get that.
It appears that, wow, The Right Stuff. I watched it years and years ago and don't remember any of it. Something about astronauts and being 2 VHSs too long.
It's about a rocket ride.
And then peeing in a suit, right?
I mean, that's just what people do, right? You wear a suit, you pee in it. Right?
How like life?
How like life? Is life just not one long pee in a suit to this earth, this hell earth on which we live?
Speaking of awkward transitions, hey, Jamie Donnelly's on the show. Let's transition, bring him into the conversation. Hi, Jamie.
Hello, thanks for having me back. I'm still laughing at Edit Her Out. That's a great Kiss reference. Well done, well played.
Thanks, gang. Jigoku Retsuden. This is an album that exists.
I guess, yeah. All right, sure. That is a combination
depending on
of
how you
words.
define existence.
Or existence.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Man, this brings back a lot of memories.
Keep them to yourself, Pops.
Typically we go around the panel and talk about our histories with the band and the album. I'll go ahead and go first. I remember hearing about this probably on KissFAQ on the message board, and they're like, hey, there's a new Kiss album, but it's just them re-recording old songs. and everyone was like, we don't care. And that was my thoughts on it. And then I got as the bonus disc with Sonic Boom, and I was like, these are all fine, I guess. Don't care. Okay, Steve, your turn.
Oh, okay. So I heard about this whenever Greg scheduled this episode and was like, hey, Steve, you're going to do Jigoku Retsuden. And I said, what? And then it turns out that my new work computer doesn't have a CD player. So he sent a YouTube playlist with all these songs on it. And I listened to them and was like, oh, yeah, I recognize all of these. And I don't remember how different they sound from the originals, but sure, this sure was an album that existed.
And this album will answer the question that Steve had in episode 1. Would these songs be better if they were recorded with modern production values? Because that's what he complained about in every Kiss episode. If they just had modern production, these songs would be way better.
It's true.
We'll find out how he feels on this episode. Victor, what is your experience with Kiss and this album?
Well, as I've said in the Paul Stanley Live to Win episode, I'm a big Kiss fan from way back. I know a lot of their songs and albums, and have a lot of facts to give about them, and I'll be happy to do that as the episode goes on. And this album in particular, not unlike Steve's story of knowing it existed and your computer not having a CD player, that sort of thing. I have heard the album now and am willing to talk about it for an extended period of time.
Jose, how about you? What's your experience with Jigoku Retsuden?
I just remember just a tremendous sense of terror that it was going to offend fans of Bruce Kulick, fans of Anton Fig, fans of Vinnie Vincent, fans of Peter A. Sheen Paul, and Eric Carr. It was just going to offend everyone that they were re-recording songs and that people were going to be bitching about it on the FAQ, and that I was going to have to get out the ban hammer and ban people, and all my dreams came true.
So Gavin, what's your history with Kiss, this album, and did it make all your dreams come true?
Well, yes, but then again, I've never had a good imagination.
That fan fiction begs to differ.
Thank you. Well, you know, I got into Kiss in '96. I was 9 years old, and you know that was the reunion. And they were my first show.
I knew that.
I love them. Yeah. Yeah, how about 3 more facts about Kiss in '96, Victor?
Well, he doesn't.
Paul was there.
Yes, he knows everything.
But and then this album, you know, I had kind of fallen out of the loop for a while. So the first time that I heard about this album was when it was, you know, the bonus disc on Sonic Boom. And I heard some of it and decided, oh, I will probably never need to listen to the entirety of this album in my life because, you know, why it's the songs that I like, but with 90% less soul and conviction. But now I've heard the whole thing, and like other people on this panel, I am A, willing to talk about it, and B, we must talk about it in order to wipe the cold open of this show out of our memories.
I don't think that's ever getting out of our minds.
No. I wonder how much I want to do it as a radio drama, and I want to get Vinny to voice himself.
Oh. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, here's what will happen. He'll say he'll do it for free, and then all of a sudden he'll, like, towards the end of it, like, say, hey, I need to upcharge you. And
he'll get 100% of the profits. Vinny, if you're listening, if you want to do my audiobook, you'll get 100% of the profits.
All right. Yeah. One thing I've learned is that it's always a good idea to enter into business arrangements with Vinnie Vincent. That never goes wrong for anybody.
And signing contracts via podcast? Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jamie, what's your history with Kiss and Jigoku Retsuden?
Well, this was the first of the new kind of Kiss albums to come out during my time as a fan of the band. As you're all aware, it came with Sonic Boom, so the first new Kiss album I was able to buy, this was attached to it, whether I wanted it or not. And I'd only just started college where I studied music technology. And despite being at college for a month when this had came out, I was already able to see that this was a really terrible set of recordings, especially when I fell in love with all of the original lovely recorded versions. But I'm sure we'll talk about that as it goes on.
Yeah, I mean, this was my first new Kiss album too, because I came into the band in 2004 Rock the Nation tour. This is the first album with Tommy and Eric. So, kind of fitting that the band that does its best to ape the original lineup of Kiss is covering a bunch of old Kiss songs rather than creating something new. Hey-o!
Hey.
But yeah.
Got him.
Got him. But yeah, let's talk about this album and the ranking. So coming in as the least best song on the worst song on Jigoku Retsuden, the shittiest song on Jigoku Retsuden, the worst recording on this kind of unnecessary album. We have Christine 16 because that MIDI piano where the velocity setting was stuck. Plus, it's much creepier when you're in your 60s.
Right? Like, this is not a song that aged well, and, like, just... What did I compare it to? Yeah, I said, like, a fine dumpster fire. The song just gets worse with age.
So I think it's...
Every passing minute.
Right.
I think it's a good song, and I liked what Julian brought up on a previous episode, where it's like the Beatles, I saw her standing there, she was just 17, and you know what I mean. I think because, Baby-Faced Paul sang it when he was younger, when you're a guy in your early 20s, like, yeah, there's some high school girls hitting on you, and it's, like, kind of dangerous but kind of hot. So, like, I understand that mentality, and I understand where Gene was at when he wrote it, and I understand that, hey, this is one of our biggest songs, we should re-record it, but the problem is, the production on this is so bad with that MIDI piano, where it's like, what are you doing and why? The performance is fine otherwise, but that MIDI piano, there is no reason to listen to this version ever. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
No reason to listen to it ever. That's fair.
Yeah, Kiss is one of the, arguably one of the, they have a lot of money. Can't they stick a mic at a real piano over a weekend?
I mean, you're just playing
Money
like
wasn't
one.
spent on this project.
They were just playing is that like a fifth just over and over again? Couldn't you have recorded 2 bars of a loop and fucking thrown that in there?
Yeah.
This was what, 2009? Andrew WK was active at that point. Could have hired him.
Well, this was before 2009 when this came out originally, the Intense Transmission version.
Also, it's max velocity on Andrew WK.
I'm sorry, Jose, you were saying something?
It was recorded in 2006. But you think back to 1977, Gene would have been 29 when he was singing about 16-year-olds. That's very Wooderson-like. It didn't age well. I mean, the whole thing, the sonics of it, the whole character of it, it was like a Hong Kong knockoff of a Gucci bag.
Yeah, once again, mixed feelings. So I think, every song on this album is a well-written song. These are classics of the Kiss catalog, and I don't think there's a bad song on here. I think Christine 16 is an awkward song lyrically, but I think is musically fantastic, great riffs. I like the piano part in the original. I think the vocals in the original are quite good. But, yeah, I don't think this album, of course Kiss wouldn't do something cool with this kind of concept, but they've often talked in the past, there's songs where we weren't happy with the production and we wanted to make them better. And, they complain about the production on Unmasked being thin, or some songs having good ideas that weren't fully fleshed out. They could have done that on this album, but instead they're like, what if we recorded Christine 16 with a mini piano instead of a good piano? So...
Well, at least we answered that question.
We have an answer to that question nobody needed to ask.
Let me put it this way. My apathy towards this album was so strong, I didn't even bother ranking the songs as to how good I thought the versions were. I just ranked them as how I viewed the songwriting, like on every other episode. So I'm like, oh man, is this song, so like if I gave a song a bunch of really high points, I think the version on this album sucks, but I still think the songwriting's good. Which, hey, speaking of that, that's next up on the list. A song I gave 10 points to because I think it's one of the best songs in the catalog, but man, does this version suck. Forever, next on the list.
You ready?
I'm shocked it ranked so high.
Second from the bottom.
I bumped this one up from my previous ranking when we listened to it the first time, honestly. Like, just in the context of this album, as much as I complain about the ballads, this is kind of a nice reprieve from, 14 arena anthems that I didn't really need. It's just that little bit of variety, so I put it in the low mids instead of the bottom. Christine 16 lost points. Something had to move down for this to move up.
Paul is really straining on the vocal of this track. Tommy Thayer butchers a great Bruce Kulick solo, which, yes, Julian, I am angry about it. Ruining Bruce's solo, my favorite guitar solo of all time, destroyed on this track. And Tommy's a good guitar player, so I know he can do it. Rage and Furries.
Greg, thank you for mentioning me on that, because my only notes for this song are fail, for failing to nail the harmonic on that solo.
Fail.
It's heartbreaking, because, like, Tommy's good. Tommy's a great player. And this just bothers me so much. Like, that is my favorite guitar solo of all time, and there's a part of me that thinks it's cool to hear, like, the 80s Kiss songs with the same production as the 70s songs and having them on equal footing. And it's, in my head, this is Makeup Kiss singing Forever. And that's kind of cool, but it's just like, Paul is struggling to sing it too much, the solo doesn't work, and it just ends up being disappointing.
Makeup Kiss singing Forever in the sense that this album is still going. This is 11 tracks in. Who needs more than 10 tracks of Kiss at a time? I don't even want more than 5.
I can't believe it only. I can't believe it was. I can't believe it's not even the worst on the whole record. Like, it's so bad, and yet there's still worse on here. It's the most obvious line-by-line recording I've ever heard in my life. It's absolutely dreadful. It's like they were all given exactly one take. They were given 3 minutes 30 to do everything, and then the sound engineer that was mixing it was allowed to run everything through auto-tune once, and that's it.
He was also given 3.5 minutes to do the mix.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, right, just do me a favor, just put auto-tune on, set it on automatic, and we'll just hope for the best. It'll be fine.
I want to give some credit. I'm going to give some credit to Eric Singer for playing the drum parts well and doing a pretty faithful job of what Eric Carr did in the original track. So I think that the original, had more energy and sincerity to it, but I will give Eric Singer credit across this entire album for putting in solid drum performances on pretty much every single song. So credit to Eric Singer, but man, did they just drop the ball on this.
I put it at number 2.
Yeah, Gavin, you loved it. What's up?
Well, this album is such a weird, horrible experiment. But this version of Forever, because I don't listen to Hot in the Shade all that often, so I don't listen to. By extension, I don't listen to Forever a lot. When it came on in this thing, I'm like, yeah, it sounds kind of neutered, but this is a damn good song. And so for that, it jumped all the way up to number 2 on my list. Because it reminded me that Oh yeah, I should try A, this song again, and B, just take it another jaunt down Hot in the Shade Boulevard.
Be careful. It's dangerous down there.
Victor, did you have any thoughts on Forever?
Cadillac Dreams.
Yeah. I think my only note that's worth a damn here is that I would take all of the ballads on Live to Win over this.
Oh. Oh, no.
I mean, in terms of performance, yeah. In terms of songwriting, I think Forever is a better song than those ballads, but I mean, in terms of like this actual recording or the recordings on Live to Win, yeah, he's right.
I only listened, I did do one listen through this doing ABs with the original versions, and I also said that the original version of this is better in every single way. So even I was able to notice that. A guy who knows everything about Kiss.
Fair enough. Any other comments on Forever before we move on? I'm done talking about Steve's creepy voice. Next up on the list is I Love It Loud.
Oh.
I can't believe they managed to fuck up the drum sound. How?
Oh my god, yeah.
The song once burning out of existence for no longer having that famous Bob Clay Mountain enormous ricocheting drum sound. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of I Love It Loud. I know it's a massively popular song in the Kiss catalogue, but it's one of those that I don't roll my eyes at, but like, I just don't think it's one of the strongest songs in the catalogue. But I still love it because I love the band. But I can't believe that they went, oh, drum sound, let's just make it wimpier than the original that everybody knows and gets everybody pumped up. It sounded flat. It was an absolute fart of a drum sound. I can't believe it. I'm upset. Can you tell?
Yes. The way I look at it is they were trying to make this sound like a sort of cohesive unit and an album that works together as a whole. So if they made the drums that much more massive on this track, it would stand out too much from all the other songs. So they were trying to make
all the drums massive then.
Yeah. Well, they were trying to make this album sound consistently shitty. And so they succeeded with that.
Well, but then why do they completely change the sonic palette for I Was Made for Lovin' You? Like, if you listen, like, that song sticks out like a sore thumb in this version.
Out like a great thumb.
Because they were lazy. So, like, they were trying to make it consistent and then just, like, messed up by making one sound better.
Well, I feel like, but they were lazy becomes kind of an explanation of everything post 98.
Yes.
Well, that's generous to give them up through 98.
Well, I'm sure it takes a lot of work to work.
To wait outside of somebody's school all day.
But
wearing those boots, it would. That would be tiring.
I had this as my lowest ranked thing on the album. But, you know, it is comical when the drums start, and then also if well, here in my notes, the fade back in at the end doesn't work when there is literally zero atmosphere in the way that it's mixed. You know, that fade back in part just it works beautifully on Creatures. Like, I love It Loud. It's a great song, but it just completely is a dead bird on this album.
Yeah, it's interesting how faithful they are to the original studio versions of almost every song when they could have just, like, actually made some of them cool with different arrangement choices. Like, they could have ended Deuce with the live ending, could have added a solo to Rock and Roll All Night. But they're like, nah, let's make it as faithful to the studio version as possible, including the fade out, fade in. That doesn't work with this production.
Yeah.
I genuinely forgot this one existed and thought they'd put a single new song on this album. That's how memorable the original version of Love It Loud was. So I ended up ranking this, pretty low to the bottom. I don't know. I don't know that this is a good song, Greg. It might just not be good to start with.
I think it's a good song here's my thing with it being a good song.
I already don't remember how it goes, having listened to it 2 days ago.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, that's how it goes. The thing
Okay,
is,
yeah, I vaguely remember it now.
the thing is, this song works very well in the live context where Creatures of the Night was not an album that sold very well for Kiss, but this song has such a powerful arena rock chant that everyone picks up on it instinctually at the live show, and it's become a staple for that reason. We're just like, everyone gets pumped, and every Kiss fan kind of knows it, and where like they hear it, and they're just like, I don't know what album this is off of, but I know the song, and they start chanting and singing along. And it's just become one of those songs where, like, my dad never owned Creatures of the Night, but he knows the song. A lot of people who don't own that album know this song, and it's made their way into the live zeitgeist. So, you know, maybe the studio version doesn't hold up and isn't as memorable to you as just, like, listening to it once. But in the live context, it's very powerful. But me, songwriting guy, I ranked it as the last place song on the album because I think while it's a good live song, not the strongest studio song to listen to, doesn't hold up as well in the studio in general, and just songwriting-wise, I think they just wrote 14 better songs. So...
Wait, they played this one when we saw them, right, Greg?
Yes.
Okay.
You were singing along to it.
And I think I listened to Creatures twice, in fact. That was one of the few albums that I've listened to more than once. Meaning I have heard this song 4 times. And still didn't remember it until everybody started shouting at me.
Well, maybe if the song was called Hey, Yeah, then you'd remember it.
Yeah, I might have. Way to drop the ball.
Yeah, way to have a Smashing Pumpkins style song title.
Way to drop the ball, Vinnie Vincent.
Yeah.
So, do we, I think we haven't heard Jose, or, Jose, I don't think you've chimed in on this one yet.
They managed to suck all the essence out of this song. You know, you've already mentioned the drumming. I don't like them kind of changing the character of it by putting in like echo effects on Gene's pre-chorus voice that makes it neither menacing or cool. I liked hearing Tommy vocally, you know, a bit more in the chorus, but couldn't they have like doubled up that chorus to make it more gang-like? It's like suede, not leather. And for a guy who plays the song nearly every show, pretty much every show, there should have been way more string attack on that solo. It was just, you know, playing the notes, not playing the solo. And there's maybe that's a good illustration of the difference between Kiss in 2006 and Kiss in 1982.
Yeah, so once again, we're all kind of meh to negative on this track. Running theme with this album.
Huzzah!
Oh, I ranked this as number 2.
Really?
I don't like the Hey Yaz, and I think the original is better, if not only because it's like a full step up from this, which was shocking when I listened to it. But that I like I like the part where they talk about loving it loud.
And when he says he likes it?
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment.
Says the guy who likes Reveal.
Yeah.
But he turns it very loud.
Right, because otherwise you can't hear it because it's so quiet.
Very high up.
Can you imagine Joey Waronker playing this song?
In my notes on Forever, I said I wanted Joey to play the drums on it because I didn't like how poppy they were. It was too loud. I couldn't hear the little flamenco guy go. I couldn't hear him twist around. I didn't love it loud in that context, but I love it. I love when it's loud sometimes.
Everything louder than everything else.
I want to hear it loud. And in between my eyes, apparently.
All right, I think we've burned this to the ground. Next up on the list, we've got Black Diamond.
A damn travesty of a song.
They left in the doom metal ending.
They did not.
Yes,
they had
they did.
20 seconds of doom compared to 2 minutes. It's not doom metal if you only do it for 20 seconds. That's a single note in a doom metal song. Ruined one of their best, possibly their best singular song on this recording.
I mean, but think of it this way. Live, they don't do the doom metal ending. At least they paid like some nod and service to it on this album.
Yeah, also a damn travesty that they don't do it right live.
Neither does Billy Corgan when he plays the song.
Yeah, well, he's doing a cover. Like, he's okay to, it's a whatever. If he wants to ruin a cover, he can.
It's okay because I like Billy Corgan.
No, it's just not my problem.
Or are you guys talking about Billy Morgan?
Yeah, sorry, Billy Morgan.
David Mustaine in a bald wig.
Right. So this is the first lead vocal on a studio track where Eric Singer sings lead vocals. He sang lead vocals on Kiss Unplugged, but this is the first proper Kiss recording where Eric Singer is the lead singer. And he sounds a lot like Peter Criss.
The lead Eric Singer.
Yep, that was a joke.
That sure was a joke. Wait, hold on. If you're not going to laugh. Titus will.
Yeah, Black Diamond, it's a classic. Honestly, this is a really solid version of the song. I think the first Kiss album left a lot to be desired sonically, in that it's a very thin sounding album, and so the beefier guitars actually sound pretty good here. Eric Singer gives a pretty impassioned performance, and so this is one of the ones where I could see being in the mood to listen to this version of Black Diamond in particular. If you want something that's a little bit heavier and more energetic than the original version, but not as awesome as the Alive version, this is like that nice middle ground.
Tell me about this headspace of, hey, I want to listen to this song that I like. Not the worst version, but also one that isn't the best either.
I would like to listen to the most mediocre version of the song.
When you want to mix it up, where you're like, I've heard this best version so much, I need to listen to a less good version so I can appreciate the best version more the next time I listen to it.
I definitely think you're onto something with the kind of modern sound to the guitars and things like that. That definitely does sound better, kind of objectively, I'd say. Because one of the things across this whole record is that with that kind of consistency, like everything's brighter, everything's got more bottom end, and it just kind of sounds fuller. But I can't help but, I don't know if anybody else thinks this, but it sounds so hard edited that like all of the joy of the actual original, which I agree with Stephen, is probably the greatest song in their catalogue. Like with
right,
just like it's just incredible, isn't it? But like the intro is awful in this. Everything, like the drums sound robotic, the guitars sound robotic, the vocal tuning's bad again. Like it takes away like all of that joy of the original, but it's definitely not the worst version.
Yeah, and I would say that the highlight of this track for me is Eric Singer's vocal and the guitar tone. I think Peter's vocal on the original version had more charisma, but I think Eric is doing a really solid job. And like, this isn't out and out embarrassing like most of this album is. Like, this is passable. The highest of praise we can give for this album.
Well, and a lot of the drum takes on this album I find to be pretty flat and lifeless, and I think this one, Black Diamond, is a real example of Eric not sounding good on this album. You know, I mean, he is fine live. He's, you know, Eric Singer obviously is a great drummer, you know, but his performances on this album are a lot of them are kind of lifeless and also too overly enunciated. I think there's a lot of there are a lot of sections in especially early Kiss tunes where the drum fills are, I feel, purposefully kind of vague. And it gives this weird atmosphere to it that I love and that Peter is able to do perfectly. But Eric he plays everything too correctly to be replacing Peter Criss.
Yeah, I get that. I think I don't mind it as much. I think he does I think he balances it out pretty well for the most part. But I would say this album does feel kind of lifeless. And I wonder, like, why this album existed. I feel like none of them wanted to do it, and it's just like something they did for the Japanese market because Doc McGee probably made some deal, and it's like, hey, if we do it this way, the Japanese market will appreciate it, and we won't have to pay royalties or performance fees to the guys who were on the original recording, so it'll make us some money. Jose, do you have thoughts on this track and any insight into that?
I think it's generally known that they did this so that they could use songs in commercials rather than all those original versions, which are all tied up or have had their rights sold on. When it comes to this particular song, I was just happy that Eric Singer has never sung Beth. Oh, wait, crap. No, being totally serious, I mean, I think Eric did a great job on the vocal. I thought this is one of the better songs on the album, but again, like everything on it, you can't go back and have that magic that took place in the studio at the time that any of these songs were originally recorded. It's really, the band didn't have a musical dictator or director at that time, so a lot gets lost in it. But on the positive side, I thought the music track on this was one of the better ones. I know a couple of you guys have mentioned bad drumming or flat drumming, but I didn't get that when I listened to this. So, again, none of these songs are necessary.
Hey, speaking of unnecessary songs, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, despite how hard I was kind of railing against the drum take in this song, I still had this, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 from the bottom.
11, 12,
so
13, 14, 15.
I still had like 9 from the bottom. I had this at number 7. So it's for this album. Yeah, I think it is one of the, at least on the better half, but it's still not great, I would say.
Victor, you're a Kiss expert. How does this compare to the original?
Oh, they're basically exactly the same. Different people played some of it, but they did it the same way, but not as good. I don't know. I don't really get this song, but I like the ending section with where they sort of do the breakdown instrumental and then it does the doom metal. But like, I don't know. I don't think this song's that good.
Eric, Victor, if you could please compare and contrast the 73 or sorry the 74 studio cut versus the 75 alive ending. Like,
I'd love to.
Those endings.
So
contrast.
They one of the major differences between those two was that one of them was released after the movie Jaws came out, and I think it really a lot of more people had sharks on their minds after that, which you can really hear in the song. And
like jumping the shark?
Yeah.
Out on the street shark for the living.
Right. Well, maybe the song is about a shark.
Memories.
Keep them to yourself, Pops.
Great up.
But yeah, Black Diamond, it's a great song, one of the best songs in the Kiss catalog. Victor is wrong.
I just don't like this Kiss mishmash riff thing that they do on like this and Deuce and Detroit Rock City. It's just not my thing, where it just feels like it's 3 riffs that come together. And I mean, one guy's playing them, but I don't know. It doesn't sound like the same thing.
Victor,
It's weird.
We're listening to Kiss. This isn't like you're not going to get like a King Crimson-ish kind of, song that, is built interestingly.
A King Crimson-ish song with like structure beyond
I
a basic verse chorus solo pattern.
I think what Victor's getting at is he doesn't find the cohesion between the riffs and the different sections of the songs. Early Kiss was much more of a riff-focused band than later Kiss, which mainly became focused on like the pop hooks. And so I can understand where he can see like disconnects, like where does this section fit in? But I think that's what a lot of people like about early Kiss is like the different instrumental sections. And I personally find them to flow very well together, where it's almost like telling a story through the riffs, not necessarily through the lyrics, because the lyrics for most of these songs are bad. But
I mean, this one does tell a story.
I mean, it does tell a story, and
isn't there some quote where Gene says it's about the queen of the whores or something, or it's supposed to be about like the mother of all like
Babylon,
like an old grizzled prostitute, I think.
But I would say this song I feel is It's a classic, one of the best songs in the catalog, and this version is remarkably fine.
I think I will say, Greg, I think I agree with your assessment of my opinion of this. I do like the back half, like when it kind of sort of devolves into all these various like riffy things, and like it sort of does a breakdown that eventually leads into the doom metal section. And Gavin, I appreciate you bringing up another band that I just know so much about to help clarify this for me.
Well, hey, next up on the list, polar opposite. Not really any interesting musical things happening here, just tons of pop hooks and really easy to play. Lick It Up, next on the list.
It's only right now.
I mean, it's kind of a polar opposite of Black Diamond, where Black Diamond's like, riff, weird section, vocals, versus Lick It Up is just like...
Ride the A and then sing hooks.
Right, which, I mean, honestly, Lick It Up is a brilliant song in that, like, some of the most talented musicians I know enjoy playing the song because it's fun. And, like, these are guys who, play jazz and classical. And people ask them, why do you like playing Lick It Up? And they're like, it's fun. It's catchy. It shows that you can do a lot with a little, which is kind of the brilliance of Kiss in a way, where, like, people forgot how simple Beatles songs were, but they were still great. And there became this, like, arms race of, like, overcomplicate, and, like, songwriting was lost in the process. So getting this bare bones minimal with writing is really awesome. It's obvious there's a lot of Vinnie Vincent hooks in the songs with the way that the vocals are phrased throughout. This version, I kind of forgot what it sounds like, but I'm kind of remembering it being not as good as the original. Yes.
I remember it as being not substantially different.
Less good vocals than the original.
I think this is another one that's like I think this is another one that's like a full step, like it's a full step down in key. I think this is another one where that kind of like, I was like, holy shit, they used to sing really high.
Lick it down.
Down.
Ooh.
Oh.
Oh. Paul Stanley used to have much more of a vocal range. Turns out once you get into your 60s, you can't sing as high as you could when you were like 32. But yeah, a part of the appeal of the original was how great of a vocal Paul Stanley did on the track. This vocal is just okay at best.
Which is pretty good for this record.
Very generous.
Yeah. One of my kind of comments throughout is just that hard drive space is cheap and re-recording would have been quite easy on quite a lot of the vocals. And yeah, you're right though, Greg. This is a terrifically fun song to play. It was one of the first Kiss songs I ever learned to play, and I still play it quite regularly now. I was kind of shocked that they didn't go into the "Won't Get Fooled Again" bit in the middle, because that's the only way that I ever seem to hear it. Every time I listen to the actual studio version, it gets that middle section, and in my head, I'm extending it. Yeah.
Well, they're not going to do interesting rearrangements on this album.
No, of course not. And they'd have to pay the Who money, and they don't want to do that, do they?
Oh, no.
If the reason for recording this album was so that they had free and clear versions that they could license for advertisements, yeah, having to pay the Who probably wouldn't be super great.
So is this the most authentic Kiss album because it was done just purely for commercials?
Right? All of the rest of their music was done to make money, but this one was really done to make money.
Has anybody used Christine 16 in a commercial yet?
I believe Adidas did.
Really?
No, I made that up.
I mean, like, once the internet gets hold of this Gene Simmons guy, he is so fucking canceled.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen any day now. Do we have any, Julian, Jose, any comments on Lick It Up?
No, Jamie said it all, really. I mean, I was kind of waiting for the Won't Get Fooled interlude to come in, but I guess they wouldn't want to ruin it by putting something good in it. this just totally lost the essence. It's like you want a coffee, but you suck the caffeine out of it. You take the milk out, you take the sugar out, and then you take the water out, and then you're left with just an empty shell of the original vision of what you wanted.
Decaf Folgers black.
Yep.
just the can of it. None of the. You didn't put it through the water or anything.
Honestly, the
Like
can probably still
decaffeinated air.
pretty good.
Though from a songwriting money perspective, I bet Vinny was pretty happy that they put this on.
Well, no, because he lost those rights.
Oh, okay.
So they stuck it to him by putting 2 of his songs on
Oh,
there.
God. I'm shocked they didn't do Unholy while they were at it.
Just out of spite. Like, we won't use this for a commercial, but just, just to dig it in.
Well, you've asked the right question earlier. What have they used in commercials off this? What, Calling Dr. Love was, I think, used with Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, it's the only one I remember.
I think I don't remember. I think they used the real version of I Was Made for Loving You on that Toyota commercial. And that's all I've heard. I mean, who the hell's going to want, quite a lot of these songs in commercials these days?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Lick It Up. It was really great for that popsicle commercial. Hey, next up on the list is another song that was recorded on this album. Hotter Than Hell, next on the list. Here's, hold on, Hot Take Troyan. Better than the original.
Hey. Greg, do you know what my first note is for this?
What is it?
Proof that the album mix of Hotter Than Hell is magical.
Yeah, so
I'm trying to work out which is the hotter take there.
I will defend the mixing on Hotter Than Hell.
Well,
Even if the rest of the band abandons it. God damn it, that album sounds amazing.
all right, so Hotter Than Hell. I think this is better than the original. I think, Gavin, to say that Hotter Than Hell has amazing production is just wrong. I will concede that certain songs benefit from the production, like Parasite and Strange Ways, but overall, and I'll give you even Going Blind, but overall, I think the songs in that album are really hurt and hampered by the production. And what I will say about this song is that I think that Eric's more staccato playing and more precise playing is actually a better fit for the song than the more sloppy playing that Peter did on the original. I think Paul sounds really horny on this track, even hornier than he did on the original, because he's remembering all that hot sex he had in his 20s, and now he's like married and boring, and remember like, oh man, when I wrote this song, I was so horny. And so he has a lifetime of horny memories coming to him through the song all at once. And he is even hornier then than he was as a 20-year-old or however old he was when he did this originally. So he has that lifetime of horniness pent up, and he's playing a song that he hasn't gotten to play in a long time, so he is enjoying it and being like, fuck yeah, Hotter Than Hell, I'm horny, this is great. So yeah, this...
No, I jack off really loud.
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't even have to come back.
but yeah, so this...
Victor, the only guest we can replace with drops.
But yeah, so for me, this is honestly a very pleasant surprise on them with how much I enjoy this version. I think the doubling on Paul's voice, it makes it sound like they actually cared about this one and they thought it sounded kind of cool, so they put a little bit more work into it. So yeah, the best version of Hotter Than Hell is this one.
Oh, so wrong.
God.
Now, I feel like I'm going to clarify. When I say Hotter Than Hell has amazing production, on a, if I was to, if I was in school for music production and handed in Hotter Than Hell as my final project mix, first off, they'd be like, well, that album came out in 1974. What are you doing? And then second, they would be like, this objectively sounds bad. It is objectively bad studio work, but it gives that album this atmosphere. It lives in its own world. There's
shitty atmosphere.
I wait. If you were to do a song like All the Way with the production that was on Dress to Kill,
be much better.
Oh, no. Someone's got to have my back here. Come on, someone.
I mean, I actually, got a copy of all like sort of the mixing notes that they were doing back in 74. I think we all agree was when that came out. And I think they actually say that Gavin is right, which is a really like insane thing for them to have noticed. But that's just what I have in my notes here.
But how did you feel about the two different versions, Victor?
And compare and contrast them.
I think, well, in my notes that I wrote in 2019, actually, maybe is when I wrote them. I think I actually lean with Greg. I think I actually like the new version better on this specific one.
I too am Team Greg.
Really?
Yeah, clean it up. Clean it up. Whoa,
Clean
whoa,
it
whoa.
up.
Yeah, I think in my list, like my chronological list going through the tracks, I think this is the first one that I'm like, oh, hey, that sounds kind of good.
I also wager that. Well, but this version to me has no, because Hotter Than Hell at its core is all swagger, right? It's pure bravado, even though it ends on a really anticlimactic note.
Strange Ways is anticlimactic? That song's fucking sick.
Oh, no, sorry. The song Hotter Than Hell.
Okay.
Yeah, just the song. It's just, he walks up to the lady and they kind of flirt and then he says, hey, you want to go somewhere? And she's like, I'm married. And that's the end of it. But the swagger of that song is so, it's vital to that song working and not to get all original lineup only, because I'm certainly not that. I just think Eric didn't swing this song hard enough. And that could be because, it was one take with a click track and maybe he couldn't swing with a click track on and but I think that it could have grooved harder.
I think he had a better feel for the song personally. Jamie, how do you feel about my hot take?
I think there are so many hot takes on this song, aren't there? I don't even know where to start.
Takes are hotter than hell.
I'm starting to wonder if I'm getting delirious over it all. I think this is the first song from the rankings that we've kind of discussed so far that was okay. Like, Paul doesn't sound that bad. Like, whatever they're doing to kind of edit his vocals and tune them, like, it does sound closer to how he actually sounds. And yet, it's good to kind of hear the guitars sound as kind of edgy as they always ever should have. Had it not been recorded with potatoes on the original record. But those hots in the chorus, like, they sound awful. Am I the only one that picks up on that? They sound absolutely dreadful. They sound like they've been sampled and then they're being played back off a keyboard. They're so hard tuned. Like, most of my notes are basically kind of, this is tuned too hard. This is tuned too hard. I wish I could do it by the whole, this is a great song, but I can't. So yeah, the guitars sound great. Paul sounds okay. Your takes are too hot.
And Jose, how about you?
Yeah, I stopped wondering what it would be like to have Hotter Than Hell remixed after hearing this.
Because you heard what it sounded like remixed.
Yeah, it's like, wow, it would be a great sounding album. Okay, moving on.
Absolutely not. No.
Julian, thank you. Oh yeah, Julian.
Jose,
thank you.
Just ruins it. I mean, it's like Destroyer Resurrected all over again. And it's just, you don't fuck with what was original. And we all wanted to know, and now we know. So, kudos to them for making our nightmares come true.
Wait,
Thanks for reminding me about Destroyer Resurrected, Julian.
Wait, am I the only one here that liked that?
Oh.
Look, let me put it this way. I listened to like a couple little bits of different songs from Destroyer Resurrected, barely noticed the difference, and decided, you know what, I don't care.
No, God of Thunder Resurrected is way better. The drums,
they have extra child sound effects.
Well, no, Peter just sounds more present.
They added more reverb.
Yeah, they definitely did that. I listened to the one track off of that, and I was like, boy, they sure just threw on some reverb on this bad boy. Reverbier than hell.
Well,
more reflective than the midday sun.
More reflective than hell?
wow, I didn't know that Destroyer Resurrected was a hot take. Or liking it was a hot take.
Terrible.
I don't think I've
Did
heard
it
of
make people so angry that they wanted to rip and destroy?
I actually don't think I own a copy of that any longer. So.
Oh damn!
Really?
If Julian doesn't care enough to own it, and it's a piece of Kiss merchandise, it sucks. That's all you need to know. If Julian's like, "Yeah, I don't care," fuck, that sucks.
Jose has a copy though.
Jose has 3 copies. But hey, let's move away from Hotter Than Hell and move up to Heaven with Heaven's on Fire.
How is Heaven's on Fire this high up? Who's ranking it this high?
Put it third from the bottom.
Apologies
when
to
every
that
song
guy.
every song is ranked 15th, so this somehow.
It looks like it's mostly Jose and Victor carrying this one.
Apologies to be that guy again, but has anybody ever heard a more obvious example of 2 vocal takes put together than that start? I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, the fact that
It doesn't sound that bad on the original.
that start, the fact that they first off cut off the beginning of that start is just really the sloppiest editing I can think of on a recording of this level, which is still a pretty low level, but man, that is so sloppy.
Well, and it sounds like it. In one of my listens, it sounded like they took the original vocal part, pitch shifted it down, and then had Paul sing against that now. Because it sounded like the original was in there, but it also had this kind of, flabby voice over the top that, I'm probably wrong about that.
Yeah, I've ranked this 4th for strictly because they had a big brass pair of ghoulies to actually even put this on an album and to even try and do it. Because at that point, I figured they're never going to touch that song again with Paul's voice going the way it is. And God, how shocked I was when they started doing it this latest tour. But I probably was also a bit biased, as that's the era that I got into the band. But for all its technical faults, and it seems to me to be one of the kind of re-recordings that doesn't really lose a lot from the original version, especially with how the work tapes, you can hear all the little tricks before they fine-tuned it. So all the vari speeds out of sync a little bit, how they doubled up the vocals and all that. So it seemed to be the less evil of some of the efforts that they made on this album.
I mean, I think it's cool to hear this song in a different recording context, like more similarly recorded to classic Kiss, and giving it less of a 80s rock sound and more of a just universal hard rock sound that, moves across decades a little bit better. So it's cool to hear it in that context. And honestly, the vocal is not as bad as you might think, given all the circumstances. Yes, that intro is sloppy, but the vocal they cobbled together is, listenable, where this is... It's fun because a lot of times 80s Kiss doesn't get its due, and so I think of the 80s Kiss songs on this album, this is the one that turned out the best, and thus ranked the highest. But I think it's a great song written otherwise. Phenomenal piece. Steve, what's your thought on this one?
I ranked this pretty near the bottom, and my synopsis was, this version sounds less like an AC/DC knockoff, but not enough less.
Is it noticeably slower than the original, or was that just me?
No, and the reason I know that is because I, at one point last night, was trying to figure out if they just took, the vocal intro. So I had one going on YouTube. I had the Jigoku Retsuden version on YouTube, and then the original version on iTunes, and played them as close as I could to the same time. And it turned into this, like, in pretty much in time with each other, just sludgy mud sound that was terrifying of both versions playing a little bit off sync from each other.
Oh, why
Sounds
didn't
like a
they
Steve
release
Wright
that?
piece.
It kind of, yeah, kind of.
They should have just released that entire album of these songs matched up with the original, so you get this sort of sludgy, out of phase, bad thing.
But then you couldn't sell it to commercials.
That's true, but you could sell it to, Kiss diehard fans who will buy any stupid shit they put out.
I mean, there's still time for them to do that.
It's true.
Yeah. But, like, just imagine what this album could have been if they used it as a chance to, like, I don't know, take old demos and fart out a version in the studio, like Don't You Hesitate and it ain't the smoke that burns you. Is that one of them? It is something about
smoke. I think it's just called.
Okay, yeah.
You want them to ruin all of that stuff too? God.
No, well, no.
He wanted this to be a different kind of truth.
What he wants is they should have brought in, somebody from Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum or Mike Patton to just do the avant-garde experimental version of this album.
Oh, if they brought Nils in to sing,
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I quite like how Julian ranked this so highly, just for the kind of, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing Heaven's on Fire. So I like the idea of an alternate album where they've done all of that, and, Paul re-recorded My Way and Turn on the Night and other songs in 2006, Paul. Just for the laughs. Time Traveler, the lot, yeah.
Yeah, and the album comes with a Kiss-branded ice pick for you to stick in your ears.
I'm just thinking of that one iTunes review who said about our show, the show is good, but for someone who calls himself a Kiss fan, Greg sure rags on the band a lot. He's going to love this episode. Guy on the internet.
Hey,
we're just doing the ragging for you.
We couldn't do it without your support.
I feel like that's something super I don't know. I feel like the Kiss fandom out of all the fandoms I'm a part of is the most built to deal with that, though. I feel like out of all the fandoms I'm in, this is the most self-deprecating one.
I mean, most self-deprecate. I don't know. This is the fandom that I'm in where, like, I think they've drinking the most Kool-Aid. I've noticed. Maybe once you're a Kiss podcaster.
For a bunch of Kool-Aid drinkers, though, Kiss fans will fight about absolutely anything.
Oh yeah. And it's different flavors of the Kool-Aid, right? I mean,
But what I'm saying is Kiss podcasters tend to be much more snarky and willing to criticize, but like the average Kiss fan who doesn't have a podcast, who just listens to every single Kiss podcast, they just love everything. They're like, how do you guys not like Jigoku Retsuden?
That's right, our target audience. We're insulting you to your face. You're welcome. Thanks for listening. We couldn't do it without you.
I've gotten in arguments over on, like...
Sorry, you were saying, Gavin, before we played the shop theme from Final Fantasy 1.
I thought you were starting Psycho Circus. Waiting for that big gong, Got
this one.
No, I've there it is. I feel like I'm seeing, between the various Kiss Facebook groups that I'm in. No, I'm seeing arguing about everything, and then it's always followed with like, well, I love the band, but
I love the band, but
which I'm in that camp. I've got the stuff that I love, the stuff that I don't, but I just I don't see that in like the David Bowie groups that I post in, or the They Might Be Giants group, or the Frank Zappa groups. There's not that like, I love this album, this album, this album, this period. I hate that period. I hate that too. It's not. This is the most kind of bipolar group.
Well, that's because all of those bands are, experimental enough that it's just sort of accepted as a given that somebody's like, yeah, I did not enjoy Mink Car. And there'll be a bunch of people like, I love that album. That's my favorite, but I get it. I get why you don't like that one. They made some weird choices.
as someone who's, been diving into let's say the Springsteen fandom, there tends to be a lot more universal praise for everything he does as brilliant. And so I kind of get that. But I think any fandom, if you dig underneath the surface, you'll find people more willing to criticize. But I'm not as familiar with They Might Be Giants, their entire catalog. Everything Zappa did was great, so fuck you if you don't like any of it, Gavin.
You're gonna sit here and defend Jazz from Hell at me?
That's like my favorite Zappa album.
I'm going to say Jazz from Hell's a pretty high up on my list as well, and I've got Zappa's mustache tattooed on my arm.
I'm going to sit here and defend that time he hosted SNL.
But Gavin, literally, I was about to bring up Jazz from Hell as a masterpiece before you brought it up as something like, you think you're going to defend that? Like, I was about to.
The chord progression in Night School.
I don't hate Jazz from Hell. It
sounds like you hate Jazz from Hell to us.
Yeah.
I am so fucking lost right now.
What's the
Jazz
t-shirt?
from Hell is a Zappa album made entirely on the synclavier. The synthesizer, kind of early MIDI. Well, not MIDI. I don't know.
Yeah, it was an early sampler. He composed the whole album on it, and despite it being fully instrumental, it still managed to get a parental advisory sticker. It was the first album to come out after his big censorship fight, and I believe it got the censor sticker for the track G-Spot Tornado.
Masterpiece of a composition.
Big time.
The version on Yellow Shark, I think, is great.
I think the original is great
Yellow
too. You
Shark's
don't like the
superb.
original G-Spot Tornado?
It's fine. It's just
It's
not
fine. I'm never going to take you seriously again. This is the breaking point. G-Spot Tornado is the breaking point. I'm just kidding. I still love you.
Yeah. Oh,
I
love you too,
still
Greg.
love you. Baby.
Just to be clear, the yellow shark is the one you're not supposed to eat, correct?
Yes, but you are supposed to jump over it.
Okay.
I think you're allowed to eat any shark because any shark will eat you.
It's the yellow mud shark.
Yeah, it's yes, even hot rats. That's the t-shirt you're supposed to get, right? You don't like any Zappa at all, not even hot rats.
Well, see, my go-to for that argument is always like one size fits all. That's the one that I'm like, yeah, start there, and if you don't like it, move to another one. But
yeah, Heaven's on Fire. Hey, that's a song they recorded. They sure did. Victor, how did this stack up to the original?
I think they were kind of even. Wait, Heaven's on Fire, not Hotter Than Hell. Why do these all have the same title?
Because Kiss is not a very creative band.
Here we go.
All they have is just like as many euphemisms as they can come up with for, their own genitals and various body parts they want to touch them.
No, I jack off really loud.
No, that's not the one I was going for, but sure, we'll go with it.
But it works. I think I lean original here. I think the reason I rank this one so high is because I like the song. After hearing it, I was like, I enjoy that song, which I can only say for like maybe half of this album. And, what the fuck ever. I don't really give a shit. This one's, I like the song. Heaven's on Fire, and it's Hotter Than Hell.
do you know the original one? Have you heard the original?
I did listen to it, and I think I prefer the original.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I rank this at number 3, mostly like sort of with the Greg argument of ranking composition over production, which I just don't know what to do because I'm so overly familiar with all of these songs to such a degree that it makes it difficult for me to, that bit. I like the song. I can field all of these comments about the production being bad or good, and yeah.
Or bad for good.
Yeah, or bad for good.
Well, hey, speaking of songs that Victor is an expert in and knows lots about, next up on the list is Do You Love Me? Victor, which version is better, the original or this version?
Let me think.
Let me go rock and roll.
Let me.
We'll come back to you. Do You Love Me?
Fuck, God damn it.
Give you time to think about it.
Hot take.
Yeah,
This
thank you.
version was much improved.
No.
Yeah. No, I thought like this started off and I like went back and checked my notes. I was like, oh yeah, this song's kind of dumb. And then by the time I'd finished like composing my thoughts based on my earlier notes, we got to the extra background vocals coming in. I was like, oh shoot, this is really good though. I think this one is the most improved.
Eric plays the drums wrong in the beginning.
So I don't care.
he that
This is
drum
Eric's
intro.
favorite Kiss song, so he played them the way he wanted to.
Is it really his favorite?
Yes.
Oh wow. Well then why isn't he playing the intro correctly then? He's adding he has an extra bass drum hit on the and of 4. So instead of boom, pop, boom, boom, pop, boom, pop, he's doing boom, pop, boom, boom, pop, boom, boom, pop. And it's not, when the intro is that naked and that exposed, just play it right.
Yeah, like what is he doing? Being me programming drums?
And I obviously, as being that Eric Singer is the current drummer in Kiss, he should have license to interpret the parts however he wants to. But
he's the current drummer for Kiss, so maybe he shouldn't. Maybe he should just do the job that he's paid to do.
Well, a part that iconic in the catalog, or that
What are you saying is like it's too well known to change. It's like someone playing "Don't Stop Believin'" and playing the solo wrong at a club. Like you can't do that. And if you do it, all you're going to do is annoy everyone who likes the song. Yeah. But much in the same way that I liked Last Jedi and don't like other Star Wars movies, someone who didn't like this song originally thought it was better. So Steve, who's like, yeah, I don't care for this song. Oh, all of a sudden I like it better. So Eric's drumming changes worked for Steve.
Although I did rank it third originally.
So wait,
in what was it, Destroyer?
Destroyer, yeah.
Yeah, where it was yeah.
Are you saying that you're comparing this version of "Do You Love Me" to The Last Jedi?
No, Greg is.
Yeah, I'm saying in that. So Steve isn't like a big Kiss fan, and so he's not bothered by liking this version more. In the same way that like I don't like Star Wars that much, and that's why The Last Jedi works for me because I'm the wrong audience.
See, I should have been on that episode because I love Star Wars and The Last Jedi. Sometimes I think it's my favorite.
Well, look, we talked about it for like
3 hours.
3 hours.
So let's do it again. I wasn't there either.
All right. You know what? Lightning round, Gavin. Quick ranking of the Star Wars movies and go.
All right. Starting with
bottom
Empire.
to top, main series only.
Okay. Empire. Last Jedi.
Bottom?
No, starting
you're doing
from the
top to bottom.
Yeah. Empire. Last Jedi. A New Hope. Return of the Jedi. Force Awakens. Rise of Skywalker. Revenge of the Sith.
You've only got 2 left.
Attack of the Clones. Phantom Menace, then Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones is the worst.
Okay, cool. That's completely reasonable. Now, back to Kiss. Hey! Do You Love Me? It's a Kiss classic.
Greg, what prize does he win?
He gets to keep talking about Jigoku Retsuden.
Hooray!
Bob Ezrin's production is much better. The drums have more life on the original. They sound way more massive. The bells just have this epic grandeur on the original that is just lost in this version. I could argue that Paul does a better vocal on the new version than the original. I think his vocal take on the original studio version was a little bit awkward and maybe the wrong emotion for the song, but it was still fine. Yes.
Wait, the wrong emotion for the song?
He sounded too much like horny Paul and not like Paul expressing any vulnerability. Like, I think it was just...
Take your pornography and sodomize our vast imaginations.
I just think it wasn't a bad vocal, but it might not have been the right emotional approach for the material.
I don't think that this song depicts a real vulnerable moment.
I mean, it's a like, confrontational thing, but I think it's like, either way, what he did on the original wasn't like selling me on the emotion of it, despite it being a great song.
Huh. Well, it is a great song. You are right.
I've thought about it a bit. And I've decided this is one that every time I listened through this album, it moved up in my ranking. And then when I listened to the original, I was like, oh my God, that version is so much better. And I think that this version is good. So yeah, this is like, I love this one a lot. And I found myself singing it a lot, actually, especially because the chorus is patented one of my favorite things, which is just 2 chords. Big fan of that. Yeah, I love him. The 7-inch leather heel thing made me laugh each time.
It's a good line. It's a good line.
And it's very vulnerable, you know?
Yeah.
It's tough to admit something like that.
It's tough to admit when you're a rich and famous rock star that you're worried that the girl might not actually love you, but might just be interested in your money and wealth and power and fame.
I never understood the innuendo behind 7-inch leather heels when I was a kid, so I just thought that he was exceedingly proud of his shoes. And then when I got old enough to, put it together, I really like the fact that he went with 7 instead of 9.
Yeah.
Or 18, another 2-syllable word. Because 7 is such a modest brag. That's not normally when people are like, oh, my penis is large, it is 9, or 12.
Yeah, I think the lowest you're going to go if you're bragging is 8.
Yeah. I just love the modest brag of 7.
Especially since, according to Metal Sludge, he is packing 9 inches. According to the penis chart of just like groupies reporting back, Paul Stanley hung like a horse.
Wow.
hung like a horse.
So, Jose, what's your thoughts on this version of Do You Love Me?
I like Destroyer Resurrected version better.
Oh, so this is shit. Got it. Jamie. Jamie, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Jose on this. I've never really liked the song in the first place. I don't know what it is about the song that has never really resonated with me. But I was very excited when it was dropped from the European set list for the End of the Road tour, and Crazy Nights was brought in instead because I got to see Crazy Nights twice instead. That's it.
Well, cool. Well, hey guys, I have great news. We're halfway through the ranking.
Yay!
Woo!
We've been talking so long.
Only an hour and a half for 6 or 7 songs. Downright reasonable.
Thanks for listening to the Lipstick Panel, hosted by Lipstick Generation. Lipstick Generation's music can be found on all major streaming platforms and at lipstickgeneration.com. If you're listening to the podcast on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know your ranking of the subject in the comments down below. Feel free to leave us an episode suggestion also. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app, please leave a review and tell a friend about our show. Thanks and rock on.